on to student report. Emily?
Well, Participants Dance is going to be Master's Musical, and auditions for last week. We had regular auditions with a monologue and a song were on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday. 2 o'clock on Wednesday is when they're posting the cast list, so lots of anticipation for that. Chorus and band concert will be tomorrow night. The chorus is also going to, during class tomorrow, to that shelter. Power block at the high school. We have another concert, so students can choose to go see that. Interact Club had a craft night last Tuesday with eMark. SAD is pay to be part of the giving chain, and they get a keychain in return. And I'm not quite sure what the profit goes to, but senior boys varsity and the money that they're collecting is going to benefit Jared Capola. The book club met last Wednesday to discuss No Flower and the Secret Fan, and our next book that we're reading for December and January. Stuco hosted the Mr. NRHS pageant last Thursday, and the money went towards Rachel's Challenge. The girls and boys varsity basketball teams both beat Pittsfield Friday. Chorus is also doing choral grants that students can pay for, and they'll go during lunch and power block, and they'll sing Christmas and holiday songs to whoever you choose to send one to. And they're also doing candy caning. You can pay, and they'll go out at night and they'll stick candy canes in someone's yard if you want them to.
Not real ones, Jerry, not the ones you can eat.
Yeah.
Big candy
Yeah.
canes. What's the point? I know, exactly.
And along with candy canning, Chorus is also doing caroling on the weekends. And Slam is having a bake sale and gift wrapping inside Stop and Shop Christmas Eve from 10 to 12. So that is it within the school. For our student work, I thought I'd share my poetry class. I know that's my last student work I did, but we're doing a lot in poetry, so I thought I'd share more. We just started the poetry unit. Before we were reading prose. Now we're doing poetry, and recently Mr. Putnam, who's the teacher, had each student do their own research, and rather than, first we as a class we looked at Chinese and Latin poets, but then individually he let us each research and find our own poet, who we had to research in a 4-page paper, and we had to choose 3 of his poems to analyze, and we passed those papers in. But then for the past 2 classes we have been discussing, and each student gets to choose one of their poems, and we've been analyzing it as a class. And we have this whole packet here of all the poems that the students chose. It's interesting because you really get to find out more about modern day poets or old poets from the romantic era, Victorian era. And so just the way he set this project, we really got to learn a lot. I know I did Thomas Hood, who was a romantic poet, and it was very interesting just to see all the variety that we, as poets, that we came up with as a class. And we just finished. It took about 2.5 classes. And alongside that project at the same time, sort of at the same time, he had us find a song, any song, and look at the lyrics. And we had to analyze the song lyrics as a poem. And next class, everyone will be bringing in their song, and we're going to listen to it, and we're going to analyze the songs as poems. And I chose Once Upon a December from Anastasia, the Fox movie. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Now, was the same poet picked more than once?
No, you had to run your poet.
So everybody had to have a different.
Yeah, everyone had different poets. Charles Bukowski, Alfred Lord Tennyson, there's lots of names. Dean Wilson, Jacques Prévert.
Any questions? Thank you very much. You're welcome. Have a nice vacation.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday.
Next item on the agenda, we have Mike Gilbert from MASC here to give us a report, an update on the superintendent search. All yours, Mike.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First thing I want to do is tell you what a warm and welcoming community you have in terms of the folks that I met and talked to, both staff, parents, students, especially the students. It is the first time that I have done a focus group with a group of high school students. I almost always ask them, do you know who the superintendent is and what he does? And they said, not only did they all say they knew who he was, they all said, he knows who we are. Which I thought was terrific, and they had a lot of input. I always find the students, once they get going, really hit the nail on the head. But they were very engaged and very adult about the way in which they came across in terms of what they were looking for, and they really did sort of validate what other people were saying as well. So. It was very good. So let's talk about what the results of this focus groups and survey came down to. We had about 100 respondents to the survey, and it certainly met with a larger number than that in terms of the number of parents and staff that I spoke to. Parent numbers certainly could have been larger in terms of the group of parents that we met with, but the vast majority of the respondents to the survey were parents. So in all, it balanced out between staff and parents pretty well. It was very clear to me that finances are on people's minds. Yet when you talk to people about finances, it is not about the budget itself. It is about how that's communicated, how it's engaged in the community, and those types of things. So the sort of number one recommendation that I have come up with for you in terms of selection criteria, the priority is community engagement and involvement. Very clear that what you have here has been a superintendent who has built a culture of being involved in the community, and it's clearly something that people want to continue, and also trying to achieve that longevity again. It's not going to be easy to do that, but I think that it's something that you still need to strive for. So I think that's also part of that in terms of community involvement and engagement. Excellent communication skills in terms of the ability to engage that community in discussions and to communicate information to the community at large, as well as to town officials and to the school committee as part and parcel of that piece. The skills in budget development and implementation clearly are something that is important. Showing strong leadership skills, demonstrating success in improving and maintaining high academic performance. It's very clear that especially from the students, that they have high expectations of themselves, and that the staff has high expectations of the students and themselves in delivering what they need to meet those high academic standards. To show some experience with facilities management and building construction issues. It's very clear that you have some things that are going on and coming up, so that was an important factor. Showing experience with development and implementation of curriculum, understanding and supporting the role of technology in education, understanding and recognizing good teaching, showing experience in negotiating and collective bargaining, and showing experience in acquiring outside funding. And all of these sort of came also from discussions about the fact that whoever is superintendent here is somebody who's going to have to roll up their sleeves and do a lot play a lot of roles in the district, and that they're going to have to be somebody who's not going to be able to rely on an extensive staff, that they're going to have to do a lot of the work themselves. So those are my recommendations as a result of what was included in the focus groups and the survey. You have attached to this the actual results from the surveys, including the comments that people wrote. They always are.
I find it interesting that only 5% of the people think it's important for a superintendent to have continuation of professional development. I think it's that professional development that lends that candidate all of those attributes.
The other surprising thing to me is the, and maybe this is because, these are a lot of parents, but the last two items on here, 10 and 11, shows experience with negotiation and collective bargaining. Now, it's been my experience, and maybe it's not the same in other school districts, that Dr. Troughton was actively involved in negotiations, and, Jerry, would you say David played a key role, especially with the teachers? So I would think, just from my standpoint, that number 10, I think I place a little more importance on that. And then acquiring outside funding, I place a tremendous amount of importance on. I don't see myself as saying, well, let's find someone with business experience as opposed to educational experience, but at the same time, in this day and age, anyone who has great ideas about outside funding, I'm wide open to.
Anyone who can explain race to the top.
Exactly. Anybody who can disassemble and then reassemble race to the top, so I can understand
And
it.
that would need somebody with professional development in the superintendent's
Right.
chair.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, initially, most of the time when I do this, I only do 10. But it was very clear that the acquisition of outside funding needed to be part of those 11 items that will go in the brochure.
So let's talk about that brochure.
Mm-hmm.
You're writing it.
Yes.
Um,
And you will see it probably right after the holidays. I will get it to you. Our graphic artist is working on incorporating the pictures and all of the information that I've gathered. Need these criteria tonight, and then we'll do the finished package. We'll get that to you early in January with also with ad copy for the committee to approve. The ad copy has to be in by January 15th, I believe. Yes, by January 15th. So you'll get both of those before that. And we'll try to line that up with your meeting schedule.
So are we still on track for, it said
We will
April hiring,
Yes.
job offer?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we will advertise in Ed Week on January 27th. And so all of that will come to you before then, so that before the 15th of January, so you can approve that and get any changes back to me before we go to advertising. Okay? I have already begun to hear from folks who are interested, so that's a good thing.
Oh, nice.
Yep. I've held a lot of them off until we settled on the criteria and heard from people in the community, so we knew what we were looking for. But I will begin to have discussions with some of those folks over the next week or so that they understand what North Reading is looking for, and we'll begin the process of putting the application together.
And when is the application available?
The application and the brochure will go up on our website as soon as the brochure is approved, and we'll get that information out out in the mail as soon as the ad hits.
And when does it hit that, the journal that you're advertising?
Ed Week is be January 27th.
And the other issue we have to do is the screening committee.
Mm-hmm.
We have a list of interested candidates.
Okay.
I don't have them with me, Ann has them, and Linda. When would you like them?
We can do that in February,
Okay.
because we don't really need the members of the search committee until early March, until March 8th.
Okay. Right, then that'll give us time after the holidays
Yep.
to see how many candidates we have, make sure we have enough.
Yep.
I didn't see a great number of them.
Okay, you might have to beat the bushes.
Yeah. So is there
Okay.
anything else?
That's all I need from you tonight, is to approve the criteria.